Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of The Crowded Booth. It is a Monday evening. We couldn't come to you live last night because I was in Brian Kelly's front yard. But we've got more. We've got talking about that. LSU, Brian Kelly making big moves. ACC Race is heating up. Will Maness is going to be joining me, and we've got Make-A-Wish in the background. So we appreciate you tuning in. We'll be here very, very shortly after these fine messages from our friends over at The Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.
All right, we're live here on a Monday evening. My name is Bryce Koon. That is Will Maness. Will, we were all set to go live 30 minutes before showtime, and then LSU dropped the hammer and let go of Brian Kelly. Then I FaceTime you from outside of his house, and that's how the night went. So I guess, how are you doing on this fine evening?
Doing good. I've had 24 hours to digest the nuke that LSU sent off in the college football world, and I don't think I'm overreacting by saying that it is a nuclear warhead that has been deployed by, I guess we should say, the governor of Louisiana.
Most definitely. We're going to get into that. Yeah, no, it's the most Louisiana thing ever to happen in terms of the college football race, of the arms race, I guess, of getting the most funds, the best coach, and all that kind of stuff. That's essentially what has transpired over the past 24 hours. We're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about the ACC race and maybe a contender we haven't been talking about, a team that is really rising to the occasion.
There's no maybe. We haven't talked about them once.
We haven't, and we've actually refused to, and so that's a hand-up situation on us, and we might be watching them in Charlotte. Who knows? But we will obviously get in that conversation. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We got some sponsors we'll be telling you about here later on. Gavin's not here, and I was concerned about that because we do have an announcement that we do need to make. I'll have to figure that out, but I'm also sometimes pants on head when it comes to this stuff, so I don't really necessarily know. And Will, tell the people how bad you are at social.
You can't ask me to find it.
That's true. I mean, I don't even know what. I don't think I have Gavin's.
To look for it, but
I don't even know if I have Gavin's cell phone number saved, much less, I don't know. I actually don't. His phone number is not saved on my computer. Does that not just? Is there such a thing as an iCloud that you can just go back and forth between things?
You're asking the wrong person.
I don't know, dude. All right.
Well, I don't know where this thing has been saved at.
I've got it. I found it.
Okay.
I found it. He texted it to me.
We've got like two folders. I was looking in both folders, and I didn't see it.
We'll just figured out what a folder was on a computer.
Why are we not talking about Florida State?
Well, there's some reasons why we're not.
I don't know where you've been. I've been talking about them all year because they've got the best offensive coordinator in the ACC.
Yeah, Trevor said, "Dang, not saving the intern's number." That's why we don't pay him or anybody. All right, let's kick the show off tonight with some awesome news. We're excited to announce this weekend. The crew, the fellas, are going to be heading out to Dallas, Texas. Yeah, I know Josh Pate's going out there. I get it, whatever. It was our idea originally. Shout out to Cajun Cousins for making this happen. We're pumped to be out there. The Crowded Booth Dallas tour. We're going to be out there in Dallas for the game inside should be a lovely 11 a.m. kickoff. We do wish SMU would have beaten Wake Forest because this was definitely getting prime time. But
that was disappointing.
That was disappointing. SMU, Miami. Mustangs still alive in the ACC race, and obviously Miami is as well. So this is essentially a playoff game, it feels like, to get to Charlotte, where we'll hopefully be at the end of the year. But, yeah, we're pumped together.
You never know because of the bizarro tiebreakers that the ACC has. Maybe
anything could happen.
Maybe the loser of this game will somehow end up there.
Maybe the loser of this game ends up in the playoff. So who knows? It could be. We'll see. But yes, SMU Miami, the crowd is going to be out there. We're pumped to go out there, hang out with our SMU brethren, spend some time in Dallas, and then after the game, we'll have kind of a not live, but a pre-recorded post-game show of what we see out there. And then who knows, man? We might get back to the place and watch some games and maybe go live on Saturday night, recapping some of the action there as well.
We can go live from the grassy knoll.
Gavin will not participate unless he's got a jug of chocolate milk. So there's that. There's that. No, we're pumped to be out there, though. Okay, so let's dive into, obviously, the big news surrounding the college football landscape over the past 24 to 48 hours is indeed LSU's dismissal of Brian Kelly. Okay, you tell me, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. I've been talking about this nonstop for the past 24 hours. Is it best that we just lay it out here, kind of, I guess, an abbreviated timeline of how this went? Like, I think that's probably the best thing to do. What happened, how it happened?
Yeah. Okay. And you know better than anybody. You were there. You watched the players leave.
Yes.
That was not you in the bushes that got video of Brian Kelly leaving in his his Audi hatchback, whatever, station wagon.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said it, who I was listening to, but that right there is like the epitome of why he did not fit in Baton Rouge.
He needed about a 1964 Bronco. Like, I mean, that's what he needed. You know, just those cars they call jalopies. That's what he needed to be driving around Baton Rouge.
What is this comment?
I don't know. Alex was in the chat last night over at the Bengal Tiger, just
look,
spewing.
Either way, thanks for the view.
Yeah, we appreciate it. So let's start with the timeline. So LSU loses in just absolutely brutal fashion to Texas A&M. Will, we were all texting during the game, and I know you said why when I said this is as close as I've come to cheering in a press box in a very long time.
That was in the first half.
That was the first half, man, because LSU is up 18-14. They've got the block punt for a safety. Truthfully, they orchestrated one of the best offensive drives. They found a run game with Harlem Berry. And, A&M had over 300 yards of total offense in the first half, but multiple turnovers from Marcel Reed, clutch performances from LSU. It gave them a lead. And the second half started, and LSU was nowhere to be found. Laid over, rolled over, Brian Kelly cussing out multiple assistants, everyone inside. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. But Kelly leaves the field, and I'm walking, in front of Kelly as he's leaving the field. One thing LSU does, I know a lot of people do this as well, but LSU, from what I was told, typically does not sing the alma mater after losses. I don't think that's true, but I just can't confirm it. I think that they sing the alma mater win or lose, and they obviously leave. Brian Kelly beelines to the tunnel, leaves, while now interim head coach and LSU legend Frank Wilson makes sure some players, and I tweeted out both videos, stay on the field. Kelly comes back out regardless. We get in the post-game press conference. Kelly does not come to the media for 45 minutes. Now, I can confirm this, and I was just talking about this on a show an hour ago. The order of which Brian Kelly talks to players and coaches post-game. He goes coaches first, then players, and then he comes to talk to the media. Where we sit for postgame, you can see players leaving. They were leaving, and Kelly still hadn't showed up, which told me they had already been like a dismissal of the team. Hey, go get your stuff, whatever. I later confirmed through some of the people Kelly was trying to he took some moments to himself. He wanted to take a moment. I will say this. I don't think Brian Kelly truly believed before he walked to the lectern, to the podium, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe that he thought LSU was going to fire him. And I'll get into that in a second.
I agree with that.
He goes to the media. He does the press conference. Ironically enough, he is asked multiple questions about whether he thinks he is the guy for the job. What type of message would he send to the fan base? And so, bottom line, we move into the next day. We wake up on Sunday down here in Baton Rouge, and the expectation is that changes are going to be made. Joe Sloan, the offensive coordinator, Brad Davis, the offensive line coach, and Cortez Hankton, your co-OC and wide receivers coach, would all be let go. And it makes sense, right? Offense has been pretty bad. The offensive line has been putrid. There's been no development. And also, too, you're in a bye week. So if you're going to do it, this is when you do it. You can get analysts or whoever's going to take over before you head into Tuscaloosa in 2 weeks and play that Alabama team. The tune starts to change around mid-morning. I've talked with several recruits, as typically how it happens after your game day visit. You go meet with the coaches. They meet as normal. Will, I said this on the Bengal Tiger show last night. You had kids getting offers from coaches we expected to be fired an hour or two later. That's how nuts this was.
Yeah.
They could not answer questions about the future of their job. Mid-morning creeps to noon, creeps to the afternoon, and we haven't heard anything. Well, let me take you inside. There was a 4-person meeting inside the LSU football facility between Scott Woodward, the athletic director, and also Brian Kelly, the 2 aforementioned people I will not name because they are key points to this story, but I'm not going to name them. You have a situation to where you are in a heated conversation about what changes need to be made. Scott Woodward offers his opportunity to talk. Brian Kelly matches with a level of aggression, I was told, about what he wanted to happen. He didn't want to make some of the changes. He wanted to make different changes. One of the unnamed people in this meeting, Will, and this is where, when you talk about politics and getting political, this is where it gets crazy. LSU does not have a president, so Governor Jeff Landry is, in fact, a part of the decision-making process. That's not the crazy part. One of these members leaves the room after a heated exchange, some colorful words exchanged about the direction of the program. Brian Kelly
using colorful language? No.
Brian Kelly balks at the idea of taking a percentage at this point in time of his salary to leave and says, no, you're going to pay me the $53 million, I'm told. One of these people walk out of the meeting, make a phone call to the board of supervisors, board of directors, and also to the governor's mansion 3 miles away from campus and say, hey, can we make this happen? Now, Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports, he does a fantastic job reporting all this. He ended up writing, it was like they were passing around the offering plate, the collection plate up in the suites late in that third and fourth quarter in Baton Rouge and Tiger Stadium. Will, there's an emergency meeting later that afternoon at the governor's mansion. Brian Kelly is then notified at around 6:30 that he is going to be let go regardless. They're still negotiating the real buyout, but they said, we're not going to have you be our head coach. We head to campus. Brian Kelly meets with the team for 10 minutes. He walks out. The team walks out after him. Players are laughing. Players are kind of joking. There's not a solemn sense, and we'll get into a lot of the factors of this here in a second. But you have a situation to where your head coach is fired on a day where you thought coordinators would be fired. And I just say this, and I'll throw it to you, because there's the story, and I want your reaction, because we've talked about this a little bit, how quickly this accelerated from being, hey, we need you to make some changes, to we've got $53 million regardless, we're going to buy you out, you're done. I think that's one of the more fascinating aspects. Oh, and then you add Jeff Landry essentially called Brian Kelly's bluff and said, we're going to make some changes here. I don't care if there's not a president. We're going to get some movers and shakers moving in the capital city. And we sit here now on Monday evening with LSU, we'll get into this later, in my opinion, being the top job available in college football. So I just laid all that out for you. I guess from a fan's perspective of the sport, what is your reaction to what I've said, and just, I guess, how fast this came together?
I think that's what's the most surprising, is how fast it all came together and how quickly it changed. But man, we got to be honest. This marriage was doomed from the start.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the videos on Twitter have resurfaced all day. You know, Brian Kelly's first appearance, getting in Baton Rouge with his family. You know, just from then on, I remember watching that and I'm like, oh, that's a bad start. You better win. You better win. And he won. I mean, he won. He coached
34-14. You know,
34-14.
Will, but he's 4-11 against AP ranked teams.
Right. Yeah. 4-11 against ranked teams. That's not good enough at LSU, right? I mean, it's tough because you're playing really good teams, but LSU is really good. You're never going to be hurting for talent at LSU. You're going to be comparable to everybody that you play everybody on your schedule. You're going to have comparable talent. 4-11 is not good enough. It's not. But I think it was savable though. But Brian Kelly didn't want it to be. I think he was tired of it, and I think we saw that early in the year when he went after the media. You're spoiled. You're spoiled answer.
Yeah.
And I commented this on the show last night and expecting to get more reaction to it, but I didn't. But that shows you how many people were locked in listening. LSU fans have a right to be spoiled. They've won 3 national championships this century. That's as many as anybody. I agree with you, what you said. LSU is the best job available. It's the best open head coaching job for that reason. And it's been 3 different head coaches that have done it. So that tells you you're going to have players good enough to do it. You just have to steer the ship good enough and in the right direction to get it done. And I think Brian Kelly, just as a flat out football coach, I think was good enough for it. But again, the SEC's slogan everybody makes fun of, it just means more. You have to be more than just a football coach in the SEC. Like, I think as far as X's and O's football coach, I'm going to get in here and make it about myself. I think Brian Harsin could have been successful in the SEC from an X's and O's perspective.
Yeah, it's the buy-in.
It's the buy-in. It's doing the off-the-field things. It's wanting to recruit. Now we're hearing, I don't know if you knew this before today, but a lot of people coming out and saying, yeah, Brian Kelly didn't recruit. He was going on vacation during bye weeks. I mean, during portal recruiting time, he's on vacation. I mean, yeah, you're getting paid a lot of money, but you're getting paid a lot of money to work 80 hours a week for what, 8 months of the year, probably 6 months of the year, at least 80 hours a week. I mean, so it's what you sign up for. And when you're in the SEC, and not just the SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, the Power 4, that's a commitment that you're signing up for. And it does mean more. And you have to hear Nick Saban talk about it all the time, the process. You got to love the process. Hearing Kurt Cignetti say it now, since he's still coaching, you got to love the process. That starts at the top. And everything that you said from the reaction to players, I know you've got more to speak on that, but especially after the game, that tells me that he lost that locker room on Saturday night during that game. And I'm kind of surprised it took this long, because that's just who Brian Kelly is. He's an abrasive head coach, demands a lot, which is, if you want to win a championship, that's what you have to have. But again, from day one, just not a fit for LSU, just not a fit. And honestly, he should have known it, and the people that went out to hire him should have known it from the beginning too.
Well, so a couple things to that. That's why there's a lot of pressure on Scott Woodward. Is Scott Woodward going to be allowed to hire the next football coach, or is Jeff Landry going to be directly involved? We do expect down here for LSU to name a president here within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm fairly certain I know who it is, and we'll kind of go from there in terms of that. But to what you said, I guess we'll kind of wrap up this Brian Kelly and why this didn't work, and then we'll go into what this job means. Brian Kelly didn't work at LSU, and I know Dev had the comment earlier, because he was the most hands-off CEO you could possibly be. Brian Kelly didn't remember his players' names in press conferences. I mean, and I'm not trying to make fun of a situation here. Will, we sat, as every single coach does during the early signing period, and runs through, hey, this is who we signed, this is what we liked about him. Will, there are the director of recruiting and the general manager sitting 3 rows above us in the team room, having to confirm what he is saying because he's reading off a sheet of paper, and Brian Kelly has to ask them, that's right about that, right? Live on a stream during the press conference. Brian Kelly was so far removed from what was happening inside that building. We talk about the vacation aspect. Okay, let's go to that point. I talked with someone today, a former parent of a player on a team last year. The inside knowledge of this is, and this player has been at different programs and has had family members at different programs. They've been accustomed to being parents of kids that have different coaches that work with them. It's not out of the realm of craziness that coaches go on vacation during bye weeks. The NCAA does mandate you cannot practice strictly for 2 straight weeks. You do have to have that time. you can do some certain things. And if you're a CEO type, you can delegate, and your assistants, your coordinators probably build more of the relationships nowadays anyways. It's not that is getting people. It's when you do that and you are as brash as he is, you come out last December and say, we'll see you in the national championship. We're keeping receipts. And then you fall flat and you don't have answers and you attack the media. This isn't one little thing that Brian Kelly did wrong. This is a culmination of issues that led to his demise. And like I said, I firmly believe Saturday night he didn't think he was going to get fired. I know Sunday morning he didn't think he was going to get fired. Sunday afternoon, when he challenged the powers that be in the LSU brass, probably started to wonder, I might be walking out of here tonight and getting on a plane going somewhere.
Based off what I saw on Twitter, if the picture's accurate, he's still in town.
Okay, I haven't seen this picture. Apparently, he was at a very awesome local spot, by the way.
Yeah, we saw the same thing.
So, okay, I haven't seen it yet. I was just told about it on the previous show. So we don't know there. But, so there's that aspect of why Brian Kelly didn't work. Also, the aspect of what you kind of mentioned with the players. Does anybody like working for him? Because you get verbally abused on national television. Every single time the TV cuts to Kelly, he is chewing someone out. He's chewing, and not just chewing him out, like he's telling the special teams coordinator, this is what gets you fired. He's berating Joe Sloan, the OC, like he's a little kid.
One punt return cost a special teams assistant his job.
Yeah, he should have been talking about himself in terms of that. All of this to say, Will, the toxicity level that has been inside that building has kept LSU, who I think is on paper a pretty good team this year and still is. It's kept them from being who they really need to be. Brian Kelly has missed on hires. He tried to erase the state of Louisiana when he first got there by telling Corey Raymond to go kick rocks and don't come here, by letting Blake Baker go to Missouri.
He didn't even talk to him.
Didn't talk to him, man. I'll throw it back to you here. Brian Kelly's going to be remembered for, if he could have made the right decisions at the beginning and not had the ego, probably does win a national title. You know why? Because in 2023, you had a national title level offense with your Heisman Trophy winner and 2 first-round receivers. This year, you didn't have a national title level defense. You got a pretty good one. If you could have figured this out from the beginning and made decisions and listened to people and not just tried to go in there like you ran things at Notre Dame and maybe ease off the gas a little bit, maybe we're talking about maybe not a national title, but 2 playoff appearances. And it's just one of those things where I kind of sit here. Brian Kelly didn't work out because it's his fault. He dug this hole and he has to lie in it. $53 million makes you feel better about it. But as we kind of sit here right now, man, I don't feel, that's the next thing. Maybe. I guess to close on Brian Kelly, man, it's weird. It is eerie to kind of stand outside of a football facility when a head coach is packing their things. It was a little bit surreal how quickly this thing went down. Overall, Brian Kelly made his bed. He's going to have to lie in it, and LSU's going to move on. So I guess final thoughts on Kelly to anything I said right there, and then we'll talk about this LSU job in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I mean, he lost. He didn't work. Just to echo you, he didn't work because of himself. It was his personality. It was his attitude. It was really odd that was kind of his attitude. I mean, he played in one national championship game at Notre Dame and got just absolutely blasted by Alabama in 2012. So yeah, he had a really good program at Notre Dame and won a lot of games, but what did he have to show for it? I mean, he came in acting like he was a multi-time national champion and operated that way. And I agree. I think every year, every team he had at LSU had the talent to at least contend for the SEC and for even a national title. First, it was the offense, and then here recently the defense. I mean, I still think this defense is really good, and now I think the offense is the problem.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, he got the hires wrong, and I'm really surprised, and we can get more into the buyout if you want to. I'm kind of surprised LSU's paying him anything, because there's been head coaches that have been fired for cause for fostering a toxic work environment.
Yes. There has been.
But LSU, I think, has the money, and they said, we're tired of this problem. Just go away. Here's a check. Go away.
I just said this an hour ago on a local show here in Baton Rouge. You could buy out Brian Kelly and the entire staff with pay-per-view if you heard the meeting of those 4 people in the walls right there. To me, it's
Yeah.
one of those things where the toxicity level is at all-time high. Jeff Landry said, "Hey, this is not happening. We're not doing this." So I'm with you. I think it's a perfect parlay into the next point here, and we'll talk about this. What is this LSU job? Like, how good is this job? And I just want to start by saying this because I have been down here for three years. And, we've talked about this a lot. Like, how good is the LSU job? What does it mean going forward? Like, I'll just kind of start off with this and then you take it. Because we grew up fans of the SEC, right? Like, we watched and I had never been to a game down here, but you always hear about the passion that LSU fans have, and frankly, it's the thing. And that you have some Saints fans. There's not a ton of Pelicans fans. People are all LSU across the state here. It's the flagship state of the university. It's the only major university. Sorry, Dr. Bob, but it is what it is
for sports.
For sports. Well, this place really is special, and I think why we get so frustrated when people are met with, well, why does he say it means more in the SEC? It's because of what we saw yesterday. And it's what we've seen at other places, including a place like you talked about with Auburn. Because the powers that be will not let themselves become obsolete. They might not have the record to be considered contenders, but a place like this, what Jeff Landry and these people did, they essentially said, no, man, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We will pony up that money. We will pay you to get you out of here. And now we're going to be the number one job available based off of talent, resources, based off of the fan buy-in and the institution as a whole backing this war machine that is LSU athletics. That is why this is the top job in the country. And it is perceived by many coaches across college football. I was just texting with a director of operations at another school and sent them a list. They shot me back a list. They said, man, that is going to be the most coveted job on the open market, and it's going to be a trickle-down effect to both Florida and Penn State about what you could do, because you can you can start to have the conversations about some of these untouchable guys. And we'll get into some of those names in a second.
LSU's already done that.
They've already done
that with Brian Kelly.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody expected Brian Kelly to leave Notre Dame, and all of a sudden LSU, boop, yeah, we're hiring Brian Kelly.
Yeah,
and they can do that because they're LSU. This is the best job on the market.
Yeah,
better than Penn State, better than Florida. I don't think it's really that close. I think people want to make it close because you think about Penn State and Florida have great history, but I mean, in our lifetimes, Bryce, it's not that great. Whereas LSU's in recent history has been
the last 3 head coaches have won national titles.
Yes, before Brian Kelly. Yes, the last 3 won national titles. And you just said all the things. They have the best backing. I think they have the best, most passionate, diehard fan base. And I'm an Auburn fan saying this. I think LSU has Auburn beat in that regard. And it's because, like you said, everybody in Louisiana loves LSU. Mm-hmm. That's it for Louisiana and for people in Louisiana. Yes, you got Tulane, you got Monroe, you've got Louisiana Tech, but they are minuscule to LSU. And LSU showed, what did we say, 34-14 is Brian Kelly's record. They just paid him $50 million to go away. So
he's 5-3. LSU's 5-3, and they paid him to go away.
They're going to have the money. Whoever they bring in, which could be anybody, like they showed, they can go get anybody, is going to have every resource, everything possible to succeed at their disposal. Mm-hmm. Like I said, they just have to steer the ship good enough.
And be involved. Yeah. And care.
Yeah. Yes. That, people want to talk about NIL and transfer portal. The head coach still has to be involved. The bottom line, recruiting, if it's high school or transfer portal, it's cultivating relationships. That's what separates the good coaches from the great coaches, the bad coaches from the good coaches. How do they cultivate their relationships? How good are they at making relationships?
Yeah.
But LSU can go get anybody they want. They've shown that already by going to get Brian Kelly. This is the best job, and it knowing the ripple effects that it will cause, it excites me. It makes me nervous as the fan of a program that probably should make a change at head coach. But now I think they've sat on their hands too long, and it's going to make it even more difficult. And y'all get on me for being too negative. I don't think that's being too negative. At least talking about the scope of the job.
Yeah, that's very fair. Yeah.
And what it does for Penn State and Florida is now, I think they got to be really savvy. They got to go get somebody that's a little bit under the radar that, of course they're going to get a name because of the brands that they are. But somebody like maybe that next tier, somebody that's real savvy, somebody that they think can elevate them, somebody that has it in all three phases of being a coach, that can go hire coaches, that can go recruit, that can just be a great face for the program. And that's another thing that LSU needs now. I mean, Brian Kelly it's hard to tarnish such a good and big brand like LSU, but I think LSU's maybe taking a step or a half step back because of what just happened. I mean, no matter which way you throw this, it's not a great look firing a coach that was 34-14.
Oh, it's fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody knows the situation. So, and it's LSU. It's not going to hurt LSU when they go out and call people to see if they might be interested in the job.
Well, and to your point, Will, what helps it? When James Franklin got fired, you saw support from players. When Billy Napier got fired, you saw support. Nobody, and I'm telling you, nobody has come to the side of Brian Kelly and said, we appreciate everything you've done. Nobody publicly. That, to me, is an indictment to whoever you talk to next, and they want to talk about what's the status. I mean, Frank Wilson told the guys last night in the meeting right after Kelly walked out of the building, and he said, look, let's go finish this thing out. Let's go prove people wrong. Let's go 9-3. I just said this on a show, I don't think they can do it. I don't know if they can do it, but I think the biggest thing is you have a golden opportunity now with 4 games left to go and show we're not dead yet. We care about this. We love this. You've got players vouching for opportunities next year because this is going to be, and I'll just say this, this is a win. This is not a rebuild. David Pollack said this today on his show. This is not a rebuild job. You can come in next year and make the playoff at LSU. Like, no doubt about it.
Is it crazy to think that with the interim bump, like we all talk about, LSU finishes 9-3? Like, is that insane?
I mean, you got at Alabama.
That's going to be tough.
That's going to be tough. But the rest of the games, Arkansas at home. I will tell you this, Will. I firmly said LSU was going to go 6-6, and the only win was going to be with against Western Kentucky if Kelly would have stayed. I feel better about the prospects of this team with him not there. Is that nuts to say? Like, I just think that because I know you may not know as much. The interim head coach, he's known as the godfather of Louisiana recruiting. Like, he knows these kids since they were little.
Yeah.
These kids love him. When you talk about the perfect storm for an interim bump, I don't think there's a place in the country right now with an interim coach that probably has that better than LSU. Maybe Petrino at Arkansas because he's a good offensive mind, but with LSU and Frank Wilson, man, I think it's huge. But, yeah, you've got at Alabama.
Alex hits the nail on the head, to your point. They were playing for LSU, not Brian Kelly.
Hands down. So how good is the LSU job? Number 1 in the country. This is the most passionate fan base I have ever seen in my life. It's unbelievable. It's just crazy, and it's fun to be a part of. It's fun to cover. This makes the rest end of the season, the last 4 games, way more interesting to see what happens. But to your point, you have how do you finish the season out? You've got Alabama on the road. You're going to play Arkansas on the 15th, Western Kentucky, and then you go on the road to Oklahoma. Which that game against Oklahoma doesn't look crazy difficult to me anymore. And like I said to open the show up, this wasn't a 3-5 team. Like, this is a team that, yeah, they've got some issues offensively, and they've got some maybe not as an elite defense we thought. But I just think the recipe is there for this team to go 8-4 and 9-3. And you'd be like, wait, they fired their coach? Like, that's the type of thing that at the end of the season, to the casual observer, they might sit there and say, so I guess from here, let's talk real quick, because I know we're 30 minutes into this thing, about names to watch. Look, I've said this multiple times.
Where's your hot board?
Shoot, guy in the background is going to get mad because Josh Heupel was on the hot board this morning. Would LSU go look for him? I will say this. I am making the call to Lane Kiffin 10, 12, he is going to have to tell me no if I am the search committee and the powers that be at LSU. No, 10 times in a row. Lane Kiffin fits every single profile that you want at LSU in terms of how you fit in, the swagger of what you need, and most importantly, not a toxic atmosphere, which they need to get away from.
Yep.
Lane Kiffin is the clear number one option. I do have a 1B. I just don't know if they can go get him, and I mentioned him to you, and Dan Lanning, but it's Lane Kiffin to me.
Yeah. After the way LSU went and got Brian Kelly, I can't sit here and say that anyone's off the table, even Dan Lanning, which feels crazy to say, but that's the pull that LSU has. And I don't know how any coach could tell LSU no. And I think LSU's in an interesting spot, right? So, like, of course, I'm going to compare it to Auburn because that's the program that I know the best. Brian Harsin fostered a toxic environment.
Yeah.
So Auburn had to go out and hire somebody that is basically the opposite and kind of just live with it for a couple years just to bring the good feelings back. Yeah. LSU doesn't have to do that because they're LSU. And I mean, it's easy and simple to say that. But the talent is still there. You're never going to be hurting for talent, all the things we've already said. But like, it's LSU. You go to LSU to win a championship. Like, no questions asked. And that's where you go anywhere in the SEC. And I'm not discrediting Auburn. I don't want to be doing that. But if you know the Auburn program, it was in the dumps when Brian Harsin was fired. LSU's not in the same boat. They're not.
Yeah, this isn't a rebuild job.
Yeah. No. And there's some similarities here with the way things kind of went down and bickering with powers that be. They're not the same. So LSU doesn't have to go get a nice guy to rebuild the culture and rebuild the program. They just got to go get somebody that can win. And that's Lane Kiffin. There's no doubt about it. Man, I think it's going to be a very fun bidding war between LSU and Florida for Lane Kiffin. Because think about Lane Kiffin, where do you think Kiffin fits in more personality-wise? I think it's Florida.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that.
But winning on the field, man, that's LSU. There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it that I think he'd go down there and win multiple national championships. I mean, I do.
Yeah, I think, and it also determines what does Lane want to do. You know, I mean, I'm going to be real with you, man. Like, does he want to stay at Ole Miss? I mean, that's a legitimate question. I don't know. Outside of Kiffin, you know, Sam says this one right here, and this was on our hot board today. Drinkwitz, we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens with that.
I don't see that, man.
I don't know.
Drink's a character. He's a character, and I don't know that he would work anywhere. I don't think he's won enough just to be like, yeah, you can throw him in there and he'll win. Right? Like, I think about him for Auburn, and this was a guy that worked at Auburn. He was a grad assistant in the early 2010s. But I don't know that his personality would mesh at Auburn. I think you would know better than me, personality-wise. I think there's some similarities between LSU and Auburn. So I don't know how Drink would fit in at LSU.
Outside of Drink, the names that I've listed and talked with, and I'll actually read you this list that myself and this DFO and the Power 4 we're talking about today. Rhett Lashley. I know he just re-upped, but I think that number will be dialed because to me it goes with you call Lane, and if Lane's tells you no 10 times, you move on. Dan Lanning is going to be called. Oregon's going to be able to match whatever. I think that straight up comes to, does Dan want to get back to the Southeast? That would have to be his mode to leave, because if it's money, you're not going to compete with that. The next name I've got on here is, and let's go here, John Sumrall at Tulane. The problem with this, Will, though, is
politics.
The politics of having your governor involved in poaching another city, their head coach. That's not going to play well next election cycle, I was told. So that would be something that would be weird. Is that even available?
Insanity. That's crazy, but I also think the other politics of it, of like LSU taking Tulane's coach. That's like Alabama or Auburn taking UAB or Troy's head coach.
Yeah. the next list, and Sam just mentioned Kenny Dillingham to Auburn. Look, Dillingham was out straight up today, and he didn't deny it. He literally just said, I'm worried about winning games here. I think Kenny Dillingham will be looked at. And then there's
that blows my mind. I didn't see that today. But
a reporter asked him, said, hey, you were on the front page of The Athletic today about a job or jobs, in the carousel or whatever. And he said, I'm just worried about winning games here. How many times have we heard a coach say that? And that's what they're trying to say. The last three names, and we're going to ignite a large portion of our fan base with this one. And these are three names I'm told. The three names are all alums of where they are at. Jeff Brom at Louisville, Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, and Brent Key at Georgia Tech. Those would be a risk in terms of they've never coached at this level. Now, Clark Lee's doing a good job, but it's maybe a smaller sample size. What do I always say? Jeff Brom won at Purdue. Why does it matter? But if you want a coach that is a ball coach and is business and his players love him, those three head coaches, they're going to be contacted. Now, a lot of people are going to take this to their respective Twitter groups and message boards and tell them that I just told them that Brent Key's the favorite to get the LSU job. It's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying if that's what you value, and I think they should, that would be those three would be avenues you would look down.
Just to address those people that are going to do that, you have to look at this from the perspective of an athletic director.
Yeah, that's it. Also,
Brent Key has turned around Georgia Tech and has him top 10 in the country. Of course, you're going to call him. Of course, you're going to talk to him about your opening. You may not hire him, but you're going to go talk to him.
Yeah.
You're not doing your job if you don't.
Yeah, that's all we're saying there. Yeah.
And the question was asked, and I do want to pose this to you. There it is.
That's exactly what we're saying, yeah.
Where's the comment? Because somebody asked it. John Burns, will the new president – what's with Woodward? Is there any questions about him? You think he's gone?
I think he's gone. Yeah. I mean, look, I think because LSU is one of the few places in the country, and Sam, I'll throw you a bone. I know you're in the background. Tennessee is near that. Probably maybe not historically in the baseball category, but they're close to it. Where Tennessee you have well, no, but I'm saying like where you have essentially every single athletic season covered. You know what I mean? Like in the winter, Tennessee's got men's basketball. Women's basketball has been historically like good. They're not irrelevant. LSU men is not good, but their women's program is one of the most talked about in the country. And then both baseball, I mean, it's two of the last two national champions. And obviously LSU probably has a richer history in baseball than Tennessee does, but I know Tony left and everything, but those are the two biggest brands right now in college baseball. So LSU sits in a pile. All that to say is Scott Woodward made the Mulkey hire and he made the Jay Johnson hire. I told media last night, I said, I think Jay Johnson would be doing what he's doing at McNeese State because I just think he's a heck of a baseball coach and knows what to do. All that to say is Woodward made those hires, but Jeff Landry can't stand Scott Woodward. And it shows, Will, because that meeting of the minds, Scott Woodward wasn't even involved in this.
I think that tells you all you need
so to that know. Tells you to know the new president, I expect the new president to come in here. That's a lot. By the way, wouldn't you like to be the new president of the university? We need you to fire the athletic director, hire the football coach, and go from there. I don't know if he'll be fired immediately. I don't think Scott Woodward is going to be the main decision maker making this call, would be the best thing to say. So how much power does he really have? But that's where I go with that.
Hey, if he does, Jimbo Fisher would probably be getting an interview.
Dear Jesus. He has orchestrated two of the biggest – dude, who's the agent? Who's the college football agent? Is it Sexton probably loves Scott Woodward. I mean, loves him. So, no. Good LSU conversation, 44 minutes of it. We'll cut that up, and you can check that out there as well. But real quick, let's talk about our friends over at Section 103. They do a fantastic job. And look, you can now also have an LSU polo. This does not help with the NIL fund, but you can buy one and rep it there for you. They've got some great stuff. They've got some awesome stuff through Georgia Tech there as well. Kennesaw State, they played them tomorrow night, by the way, Tuesday night, I think it is, and Georgia Southern as well. So check out what they do. They do a fantastic job, and we appreciate them as always supporting the show. All right, Will. We've got the ACC race to talk about here, man. Just complete chaos with what happened this past weekend.
I got to pull up the standings. I don't even know what's going on.
So the big domino to fall this past weekend is that SMU loses on the road to Wake Forest. And that obviously had college game day implications with where we're heading this weekend. It's one of those things where I think let's start off with this. We need to start talking about Pitt. It's time to start talking about Pitt.
Do we have to?
We do, because ever since they've made their change, they're slinging it. They put up 50 points against their opponent this weekend. I don't care who you're playing, that's impressive. I said last year after Holstein got cooking, Cade Bell is going to be a hot commodity as OC. And, man, he's once again done a fantastic job. They're rounding into form. They've got Notre Dame and Georgia Tech left. I will say this. Pitt has the opportunity, if they could split and go to the ACC title and win close, they're going to be in the conversation. If they win both of them, I'm going to tell you this, they've got a chance to have a really good resume, and they'll find themselves in. If they finish, because they've got one loss right now, right? Am I correct in that overall?
No, they're 6-2.
They're 6-2 overall, so that they probably would do that.
They lost
they can't
to West
split.
Virginia and Louisville.
They can't split that, so that's my apologies. If they win
They
out,
also have Miami.
Regular season?
Yes, their season finishes. They're at Stanford on Saturday. Then they host Notre Dame. They go to Georgia Tech, and they host Miami.
Well, if they win all three of those games but lose close in the ACC title, they're 10-3.
Yeah, I think they're in the playoff.
I mean, but they've beaten Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami, and then they would have. Let's just say they split with Miami. I don't even know who would be they beat Georgia Tech again. Or they lose Georgia Tech. I don't know, man. Pitt has. It's time to start talking about Pitt because what they're doing. But when you look at this ACC race, what stands out to you, I guess, other than Pitt?
I mean, the easy one's Virginia, even though they barely beat North Carolina on Saturday. It's Virginia. I mean, this is one of the best stories, I think, in the country, one of the best turnarounds, year-to-year turnarounds. At Virginia, I know Tony Elliott's been there for a number of years, and he's finally getting it going. But they're 4-0 in the ACC. I mean, they finish up with – they had 2 Cal this weekend, then they host Wake, then they go to Duke and host Virginia Tech. Honestly, with the way their schedule finishes, I would be surprised if they're not in Charlotte.
Yeah.
I would be surprised because they're 4-0. They could split. I mean, they could lose the 2 road games and win the 2 home games, and they still might be in Charlotte with 2 losses because of everybody that still has to play each other. But, I mean, chaotic is the word. I mean, it's crazy. You've got 2 undefeated teams. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 one-loss teams, and then 3 2-loss teams. You can't count out the 2-loss teams yet. Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, and Cal, which seems insane to say you can't count out Virginia Tech, but they're 2-2. They're not out of it with 2 losses.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? I'm sitting there looking at Duke, 3-1 in the conference. Their only losses, obviously, to Georgia Tech. If they knock off Virginia and beat Wake, if they knock off Virginia and beat Wake Forest, and if they win this weekend against Clemson, like they're sitting there. I mean, it's just they're sitting there at 9-3 with 1 loss in the conference. This race is far from over. I think when you look at schedule-wise, and I don't even want to project because how do we do that? I would be, and I know I'll talk about this at a later time, man, and I just want to get your thoughts on it. It would be utter disappointment if Georgia Tech is not in Charlotte. Like, it would just be an epic collapse. Be an
understatement.
Yeah.
It would be an understatement, and then you couldn't help but ask who Brent Key's been talking to during game weeks. I mean, I don't know how else you could put it. I mean, at this point, for them to miss the ACC title game, and everybody knows. Most people watching know their schedule. Yeah. At NC State, at Boston College, Pitt, and then Georgia. I mean, there's no reason why they should lose 2 of those final 3 conference games.
This weekend will be if they win this weekend. I'll say this, Tech fans: if you beat NC State on the road, book your tickets to Charlotte. Go ahead and buy them. Because, I mean, if you lose to Boston College, who's awful this year, that would be insane. And even if you lose to Pitt, like even if and you lose to Georgia, you're 10-2. You got 1 loss in the conference. You're going to the ACC title game, unless there's some crazy tiebreaker we don't know about, which there could be. But
I mean, I think we need to start issuing apologies. At least I do, because I hung on for a long time on North Carolina. Bryce, they have only scored 44 points this entire season. In 7 games, they have 44
In
points.
conference games?
Yes, that's
Or-
conference games. I'm sorry.
Really?
In 3 conference games, they have 44 points. Overall, they have 167.
Well, that's 2 touchdowns
Wait,
a
that's
game.
points allowed.
That's
They only
2
have
touchdowns a game.
128. They have the worst offense in the ACC.
The ACC's crazy. The race, I mean, we're here, right? We're in November. You have 1 month, and we truly don't have a concrete answer. We think we know who's going to be in Charlotte. We don't. I mean, I would say both spots are still up for grabs. That's the best way to put it. There's
You talked
opportunities
about-
for both teams to jockey for it.
You talked about how good Pitt is. You know how many points Pitt has scored in conference play? They've
How
put up
many?
192 points.
And how many conference games? I'm doing quick math.
5 conference games.
Well, they're
That's-
averaging 38.4 points.
Yeah, it's almost 40 points a game in conference.
Wow.
They're going to put up points.
Tell you one thing, Pitt, Georgia Tech might be a game of the week to go to.
Look. If you're scoring almost 40 points a game, I don't know how you're going to play in a phone booth.
You better play in multiple phone booths. Need some silos out there to play in because that ain't happening. I don't know, man. I love the ACC's fun. We've talked about this much. Like, you got some really good coaches, some sneaky teams, and it's gonna be fun. God, I hope Pitt Georgia Tech gets a night kickoff. I don't know if it had. I guess they haven't announced that yet. Obviously,
No, they haven't.
that would be, if you can get that. Was that Bobby Dodd under the lights? Ooh, you might. Is it crazy to say that ACC is obviously going to be there? I don't know if you got an undefeated. If you have an undefeated Georgia Tech at 10-0, and a Pitt team that just beat a top 15 Notre Dame team, who's probably going to be like 17 or 18. I mean, that's a top 20 matchup.
I'm looking at week 13. Who could be game day? Ooh, USC at Oregon has potential to be game day.
They already went to Oregon, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but they love going to Oregon. Tennessee.
They got
heads
to throw
to
the
Florida.
ACC a bone, though.
Yeah, that won't be game day. It's Missouri and Oklahoma play that day. I think that's your only other thought there.
Well, if Missouri lost Perbula for the year,
That's
so
true.
that could damper some things for them.
And the SEC has already announced kick times. Some have already announced kick times. That's a noon kick in week 13. I'm surprised that some kickoff times have already been announced.
Let me check something real quick. I'll look and see what the ACC did send out a release today. Let's see what they said. Yeah, they just announced the week 11 kickoff times, so they haven't gone out that far yet. So we'll see. ACC race is absolutely nuts, though, and we're going to see what happens, man. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. But college football, obviously, I think the best thing about it, man, is that we are sitting here talking about we spent 40 minutes, Will, talking about a head coach getting fired and the fallout of that, and then we're talking about a race to the playoff. I mean, this time of the year, I love getting ready for football season. I think this time of year is most fun because you have so many different storylines swirling around the college football world. And as we sit here on the eve of November, not really, it's not October 31st, but near Halloween, still some coaches to be made decisions. Do you want to talk? Let me ask you this. We'll break this off as a segment. Does Auburn just need to go ahead and fire Hugh Freeze? Like, do you join? And I'm meaning this because I saw some Auburn fans. I think it's Babysitter Barry or whatever on Twitter. He said they need to wait this out because the trickle down effect's almost too much because you've waited so long. So I guess I ask, what do you do if you're John Koon? Do you pull the Band-Aid off now and fire him, and be maybe the second or third option in a talent pool that I don't think is elite? Or do you try to get out in front of it next year and hope that you force them to hire an OC? Like, there's just so many levels to it. What would you do?
It's It's a very, very, very interesting situation because it's one that Auburn just went through not all that long ago with Gus Malzahn. And we saw it a couple times with Gus where the powers of be came to him and said, you have to hire an offensive coordinator or you're gone. He did it twice. So I think that's where a lot of the frustration, a lot of the fan base wanting to make a change. And you know me, I've been wanting to make a change for about as long as
you want to make a change in January. Let's just be real.
Yep. I've been wanting to make a change for a long time, but I think unfortunately Auburn and John Cohen have backed themselves into a corner where you're going to be going after some scraps. And I think even if LSU, Florida, Penn State, even if those jobs weren't open, I think Auburn would be a tough place to hire a coach that would be a difference maker. That's a championship level coach right now, like going into 2026. Even if Auburn was the best job available, I think it would be difficult to go get somebody that is proven that you think can go win a championship. I think it'd be tough for Auburn because of how the last 5 years have been. I've said it many times. We are living in the dark ages of Auburn football. And there's a lot to like about Hugh Freeze, and there's a lot to hate about Hugh Freeze. I mean, I think that's the best way
relationship.
To put it.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I was saying it this weekend. I love Hugh Freeze. I hate Coach Freeze. Right? He gets in front of the media as Coach Freeze and says things that make you scratch your head. You're like, why would you say that? What are you talking about? You watch him call plays during games, and I've said it a lot this year. It's past play calling has passed him by. I think the game has passed him by, and I think just college football period is a young man's game. Yeah. And we're seeing that generation of coaches, the game passing them by. They're CEOs, like that's it. They're not as involved day to day in the X's and O's as they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. Don't necessarily think that's Hugh's fault, but it's his fault for not adapting and not seeing it and not leading the program better. But I think Auburn's backed themselves into a corner. And as great as Hugh Freeze has recruited at Auburn, and this has probably been one of the most difficult times to recruit at Auburn, I think Auburn's backed themselves into a corner where they can't make that change. I think you risk too much because if Freeze goes, the recruiting class falls apart, which is not a big class right now anyway. There's a lot of surprisingly there's positive buzz. I don't know what he is selling.
They flipped Tootle from Georgia after losing to Georgia.
Yes. There's hints that Corey Wells, it's a 5-star defensive lineman or 4-star defensive lineman. He's committed to Texas, and his brother are getting ready to commit to Auburn. Like they're close to ready to commit to Auburn. Really good players. So that falls apart. The roster that he has turned over and done an excellent job to get it at least up to competitive form in the SEC. He's done a great job of that. You risk that falling apart, which I think there'll be players that leave, key players that leave anyway. For better opportunities for themselves, which I can't blame them for that. But you risk losing everybody. I think Auburn holds out. I think he has to go hire somebody to go run this offense.
You got to force his hand.
He has to. Yeah. He may back Auburn into a corner and say, no, I'm not going to do it. And then what do you do?
Well, you do exactly what Florida did. Billy Napier refused to do it, and then you had to fire him 5 games into the season. Which I hate.
I don't know if Freeze digs his heels in. I don't know that Auburn could enter 2026 with him as a head coach. I really don't.
Yeah,
I really don't because it's a lot of the same things talked about with LSU with Brian Kelly. The stubbornness, the hard-headedness, it trickles down, right? It trickles down into the program. It makes it a bad place to be. Nobody wants to work there. Nobody wants to play there. So I don't know. I don't expect Freeze to dig his heels in like that. I don't really think that's his personality. He'll certainly be upset, but he's hinted at it that, you know, they're reevaluating it every single week. They're trying to figure out how to get better offensively. So it's not that he has given up, and it's not that his players have given up. So that's why I think that's a huge reason why he still has this job, and I think it will be why he keeps this job, because he's certainly trying. But I don't know.
I don't think he's toxic.
No, you lose to Kentucky. I don't know. You that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back there. But like I say, I don't know. And you told us a rumor today that would lead me to believe that there is no way Auburn should fire him, because a name that would be high on Auburn's list evidently wants another SEC job.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but we'll see. That's a rumor.
That's a rumor. We'll see. Real quick, I want to get a couple questions here. We appreciate everyone tuning in. Nearly 500 people watching live. That's awesome. That's more than 15, I've been told. I did not have a great GPA, but I have been able to confirm that. Let's go right here. I got a couple questions. I answered this. Dev said, is it fair to say that Brian Kelly isn't the right type of CEO to lead LSU? Yes. Has he ever been into a program, Sam says, where he truly had to fall in love? Talking about Kelly with the process of building, creating a championship culture and roster. I'd probably say like when he was at Grand Valley State and he was so young, and then maybe Cincinnati to an extent. But remember when he spurned? Yeah, I just think it's who he is. Like I think he's like that. I don't know. Scott, this is a good one. Do you think Faulkner is up for one of the big head coaching positions? I do not think so in terms of the A list, maybe a B, C tier list for these guys. That's not an indictment on Faulkner. What I do think is that he is going to be at the top of the list for the top G5 positions. Memphis, USF, and Tulane. If those jobs come open this cycle, which they could, because all three of those guys could get hired somewhere, that to me is where you would look and say, okay, Faulkner's going to get a call, and I believe he would. Do I think Nuss is the starter after the bye week? Look, I think this offense for LSU is going to look totally different after the bye week. I think they're going to run the ball a lot more, and they found a back in Harlan Berry. I mean, he's dynamic. Reason he was number one back in the country per the recruiting rankings last cycle. So we'll see. It's got to be an attitude thing with Nuss. We're going to learn a lot about LSU next week in Alabama, win or loss, with the attitude they display. Like what – was this a big Brian Kelly issue? Can everyone just breathe a little bit? Alex Atkins is going to be calling the plays. He is a very counter-heavy offensive play caller.
He's an O-line guy. They'll run the ball.
I don't think he was a really big involved in the play calling at Florida State, but I did kind of dive back into, and this is a little sicko, the 2019 Charlotte tape. I thought it was Norvell calling plays, really. I just don't know. That doesn't seem to be like super confirmed. But 2019 Charlotte tape, where they went to their first ever bowl game, he was a play caller for them. And also he played at Georgia Southern, I believe. Or no, he didn't. He played at UT Martin, but he coached Georgia Southern. Nancy, with a great way to end the show. Coaching carousel may be more interesting than the transfer portal. It is about to be wild.
Hold on. Can I address the comment, just the fake news? Tripp says,
what have you done, Tripp?
All coaches know that Auburn is a payout spot for coaches, but then your career is over. Do I need to give a history lesson? Tommy Tuberville got fired, and where'd he go? Immediately to Texas Tech. And then Cincinnati. He had 2 head coaching jobs. Gene Chizik did not get another head coaching job, but he resurfaced as defensive coordinator at North Carolina. Another guy who – I think the game passed him by, and he was a defensive guy. Mm-hmm. I think the game kind of passed him by too. Malzahn gets fired by Auburn, immediately goes to UCF, and then now he's at Florida State. So, yeah, your career is far from over when you get fired from Auburn.
Brian Harsin is at Cal.
Yeah, he's a Cal.
And they're decent. I know, but they also have a really, really good quarterback.
They do.
He's really, really good. Dr. Bob, is Blake Baker available for a G5 job? Yeah, I listed, if I'm Tulane and John Sumrall leaves and heads to the Bluegrass State, my guess is, and my very educated guess and talking to people, is that it's going to be Buster Faulkner and Blake Baker are the 2 guys they're going to reach out to, which then it wouldn't be crazy. Ming says, then the U.S. Senate. That is very true.
And then
amazing if LSU
Alabama governor's mansion
with A.J. McCarron as his lieutenant governor. Gotta love it. Politics and football, just how we like our football down here in the South. Will Maness, Bryce Koon, Ralph Leary, and ESPN's sit-in down there with the hat on, registered Vol fan, hanging out. And we appreciate everyone tuning in. We don't know where Gavin is, so tag him in the Discord. We don't know if he fell in the roadside ditch. I'm not sure what happened. We appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you lock it in. We will be live again on Wednesday evening now with our preview of Week 10. And reminder, we are going to be in Dallas this weekend, so make sure to check all the social channels out. We're going to have some fun content. We're going to have a game day vlog. We're going to have some sideline access to during the game, which is going to be awesome. And we'll do maybe a live show from a beautiful hotel, the hotel patio off campus. So we appreciate you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Ralph, I'll hit the button. Absolutely no worries. I got it. And we will catch you next time here on another episode of The Crowded Booth. Thanks for tuning in. And all you LSU fans that came and joined, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Koon.